The mic, this isn't working. I can see theirs. Okay. Good evening. I call this September 10th, 2024 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. Commissioner Quesada is excused. We will have a silent invocation, and then I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Item 3 on our agenda is additions and changes to the agenda. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions?
Madam Chair, no changes.
Commissioners, any changes? Seeing none, I move approval of the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Great. Now we move item 4, count on us minute.
Madam Chair,
Can I imagine?
good evening, everyone. I'm proud to introduce this month's Count on Us Minute. Tonight, we're showcasing the incredible work of our fixed assets team. This small group of only 5 members plays a critical role of managing and tracking the county's resources, from vehicles to laptops, scoreboards, kitchen equipment. They track it all. On top of that, they ensure everything the county owns is used efficiently. And when the item has reached its usefulness, they sell it. Thanks to the fixed assets team hard work, they generated over $2 million in revenue for the county this past year. And they received an award from Gavel. Let's take a moment to appreciate the fixed assets team and all they do. Enjoy.
Fixed assets is a section of accounting and budget comprised of a team of 5.
All of us that work in Bernalillo County depend on a wide variety of different tools that need to be accounted for. And in an organization with about 2,500 employees, that's a lot of work, especially for just 5 people.
We go out and inventory all the assets in the county, do that annually, and that's a big part of our job. It takes roughly 9 months to get that job done.
From furniture to video games, cars, trucks, tractors, desks.
And when most people might consider throwing it out, this team is hard at work adding value to everything that the county gets rid of.
We've sold fire trucks, roll-off trucks, heavy equipment, IT equipment, police-issued gear like holsters, asps, batons, stuff like that.
We sold a Vietnam-era airplane.
And sell they will. The fixed assets team has made $2 million off of what most people might consider junk.
I think that's an awesome thing that Fabian and his team did. Gives the county the opportunity to use those funds to do other things that maybe we didn't budget for.
This $2 million sales mark is so phenomenal. We are right behind Denver, Colorado in sales. Fixed Assets is doing an outstanding job processing these assets.
So if you're enjoying your new laptop or your department's fancy new fleet vehicle, thank Fixed Assets for taking such good care of all the county's most vital equipment.
We take care of it throughout its life, inventorying it, and by the end of its life, it'll be back in the same yard, ready for auction and photographs.
Fabian, you guys keep up the good work. You're awesome, and I'm so proud to be a part of you and have you on my team and be on the Bernco team. So they did receive an award, and I told them they could, if Fabian Jennifer, Jackie, do you guys have anything you want to say? And then you can come up and take a picture with the commissioners.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, good evening. My name is Jackie Sanchez, Director for Accounting and Budget. I'd like to thank you for the acknowledgement of this fabulous team, and I'd like to congratulate them for their excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Please come up so we can get a picture with you.
There's somebody that drives an old school toward that's up for sale. Somebody's holding on to it. I see it.
Thank you all. It's great. We move on to proclamations, starting with Childhood Cancer Awareness, Commissioner Olivas and Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'm really honored to be able to present this. I wasn't aware of this issue, and it was brought to us by community leaders that have beautiful children. And so I'm honored to be able to sponsor this. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, and whereas 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday, and whereas 46 children per day or 16,790 children per year are diagnosed with cancer in the U.S., with the average age of diagnosis being 6 years old, and
whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment toxicity, with 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. And whereas researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently, dedicating their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim September 2024 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Bernalillo County, and encourages New Mexicans to support this cause that so deeply impacts families in every community across our county. Done this 10th day of September 2024 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico.
thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, if they could please come up and say a few words.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Baca and Commissioners. My name is Michael Casaus, and I'm joined here today by my wife, Naomi Natale, and our two boys, Santiago and Sebastian, who we affectionately call Sebas. We stand before you this evening with immense gratitude and appreciation. Childhood cancer is a devastating disease that touches countless lives, including ours. When Sebas was just 2 years old, he was diagnosed with an ultra-rare cancer called myoepithelial carcinoma, which was metastatic and had spread to his lungs. He endured 10 rounds of grueling chemotherapy, and since then he's had 2 recurrences and 3 lung surgeries. Sebas is still in the middle of his cancer journey, and we cherish every day that we have together. We're very excited that he just started kindergarten, and Santiago just started first grade, both at Montessori of the Rio Grande, and both just started playing soccer and had their first game just this past Saturday. So on behalf of our family and others like ours, we want to extend our deepest thanks to all of you commissioners for issuing this proclamation declaring September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. It brings much needed attention to the issue of childhood cancer and shines a light on the struggles that so many children and their families endure. It also offers comfort to those families like ours who often feel invisible and isolated in their fight against this disease. This proclamation helps us feel seen. Thank you for your leadership and for standing with us in this fight. We are truly grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for opening your heart, for your courage, and for sharing and making our community aware. And Sebas, God bless, and angels.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Lewis.
I just wanted to thank you all for being here and for sharing your family story, a very difficult and obviously challenging story, but for using your story to raise the issue and not only help your family, but help families all across New Mexico, across the world by spotlighting this issue. And thank you for what you're doing. And if you'd like to come up and have this proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you. We move on to item 5B, National Recovery Month, presentation and proclamation by Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you. So hopefully folks know, if not, now you know, September is National Recovery Month. And instead of doing a regular proclamation, we've been doing a lot with, as folks know, with the Keep Them Alive campaign, and we have some really great videos, and so we wanted to recognize it, show the videos, and I think if there's not someone here from Serenity Mesa, I might ask Chief Pettis to, or even if there is, he could come up, but I'll read this first, and then I'll ask you, Chief Pettis, to come up and talk about our part in getting Serenity Mesa, which is also in the film. So, thank you. National Recovery Month is held every September to celebrate the millions of Americans who are in recovery from substance use and mental health. It is also a time to educate the public that substance use treatment and mental health services can enable those with a mental and/or substance use disorder to live a healthy and rewarding life. Each September, people and groups across the country host celebrations to foster a deeper understanding of substance use disorders and mental health, promote new evidence-based treatment and recovery practices, and honor community members who dedicate their lives to make recovery possible. This public events help increase awareness and foster a greater understanding about mental and substance use disorders. Recovery Month reinforces the positive message that behavioral health is essential to our overall health, that prevention works, treatment is effective, and recovery is possible. There are so many organizations and places which support recovery here in Bernalillo County. One of our close partners is Serenity Mesa, a nonprofit treatment center which provides drug and alcohol use treatment and housing to teens and young adults. I would like to, and the county has been a part with the city of contributing to the funding, which now is making Serenity Mesa the first and only youth detox center in the whole state of New Mexico. So this has been a need for a long time, and I just want to thank Chief Pettis for being a part of making that happen. If you don't mind coming up and saying a few words.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, this is a surprise. Thank you, Commissioner
Sorry.
Barboa, for recognizing the efforts. It's been a number of years that Serenity Mesa came to both myself and our former county manager in looking for help, financial help to carry out a dream that they had always had to create an actual youth detox facility on their property. Through numerous efforts with Shirley and others to try to find the adequate funding, we were able to help to make this dream a reality. And just recently, there was a ribbon cutting on the facility, which is the first of its kind within a 300-mile radius. So it is definitely something for us to be proud of, and even more so for those who are struggling with addiction at the youth level, now have a place to go and hopefully get help and back onto the right track. So couldn't be more honored to be up here and be part of that during my short stint with behavioral health. And again, I thank you all, commissioners, for your ongoing support. And go Serenity Mesa. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you for coming over. So those, there's within Serenity Mesa, there's real life stories, those that weave the fabric of recovery. And from, like I mentioned, we've been doing the backbone of Bernalillo County's new Faces of Recovery campaign, part of our Keep New Mexico Alive campaign. Several members of our communications team actually did the work to develop relationships with 7 Bernalillo County residents from different backgrounds, age groups, and stages of recovery. They met one-on-one with each of these individuals who opened up to them about their addictions, how their dependency affected their lives, their epiphany moment, and the progress of their recovery. From these interviews, our team is developing a series of videos and print materials that spotlight these 7 faces of recovery. Their stories are captivating and serve to inspire anyone suffering from addiction that no matter how bad life seems, hope is always alive and recovery is waiting for them. Each of these promotions will also contain information on where to find help for addiction. You'll see the print campaign in many places, including billboards, bus shelters, signage at gas stations, laundromats, various publications and websites, including the keepnmalive.org. Look for its video, and we've been showing in movie theaters, on TV, and other websites, and an upcoming documentary. We want to make it as visible as possible to shine a beacon of light on anyone seeking recovery. Here are a couple of those videos of Jordan, Noe, and Dawn. They're really short videos, don't worry. They're nice.
There's been a big weight lifted off of my shoulders. It's just a horrible poison. You're pretty much just killing yourself. I had my son on January 1st. He's the reason I'm clean. I'm also doing it for me too, you know, because I wanted it for so long. I'm so happy that I made that decision to admit myself that day. If you really want it, you can do it.
Fentanyl, like it killed something inside me. What really pushed me is after I lost Angel, because he died. Like I seen people like dead, but he told me like he's all like I couldn't wake him up, and I kept hitting his chest. Like losing somebody that always wanted to help you, I just felt like I spit in his face. I think after that I was done with it. Like I hated people who dealt with it. I hated people who sell it. I hated people who'd use it. Like I just hated everything about it. Can't tell you to stop because I know you won't. That's something you gotta do.
I had been using for 30 years, crack cocaine, methamphetamines, and eventually it led me into opioids. My defining moment was the day that I lost my mom. Being in prison, the memory of her waving to me, that was my turning point. That was when I realized that she never got to see this version of me. Recovery is possible. Recovery is waiting for you.
I feel free.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just to close out, Madam Chair, thank you so much. More videos are coming, as we said, and I just want to thank our team that's worked so hard. Our media team's fabulous, but they, it's hard to get people to open up, so they obviously had to develop relationships and really talk to folks. And of course, Lisa is such a driving force and so great for all this work. Recovery is a facet of the upcoming Keeping Them Alive Fentanyl Forum on October 17th. It's the 3rd annual forum. We hope folks can make it out. The event is free to the public and will be all day at the Bernalillo Professional Development Center. There'll be panels, workshops covering a wide range of topics related to addiction, treatment, recovery, and care. For more information, please visit the Keeping Them Alive website. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbour. Heartfelt, I know. We move on to Commissioner Benson, United States Navy Week proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Admiral Munch, would you mind bringing your team up to the podium while I read our acknowledgement. And thank you all for being here today. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. Whereas the United States Navy protects and defends America on all of the world's oceans, and whereas since 2005, the Navy Week program has served as the Navy's principal outreach effort into areas of the country without a significant Navy presence. And whereas the Navy Week program is designed to educate and help Americans understand their Navy is deployed around the world, around the clock, ready to defend America at all times, and whereas Navy Week focuses a variety of outreach assets, equipment, and personnel on a single city for a week-long series of engagements with government, education, civic, and corporate organizations representing all sectors of the community. And whereas this is the 6th Navy Week hosted by New Mexico and the surrounding communities, and whereas Albuquerque Navy Week features sailors from across the nation who are volunteering throughout the community and discussing why the Navy matters to Albuquerque, and whereas 2 ships have borne the name USS Albuquerque, and 2 ships have borne the name USS New Mexico, and whereas USS New Mexico SSN 779 is a source of pride and honor for us all. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim September 9th through 15th as a special time to show appreciation for our United States Navy and proclaim it as Navy Week in Bernalillo County, done this 10th day of September 2024 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico. Thank you very much. And Admiral Munch, I know you were commander for the USS Albuquerque, and reading in the paper this week, not only did I learn that you were from North Dakota, but there's an actual active USS Desert ship as part of the Navy here in New Mexico. So please, I'd love to hear some words from you.
Well, Chair Baca, Commissioner Benson, and all the commissioners, thank you very much for your proclamation, and very much appreciate your recognition of Albuquerque Navy Week, and more broadly, what the Navy does. The county has long been a supporter of the armed forces, active reserve, National Guard, and the veterans, and we all appreciate that very much. This area has contributed to the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, from which this area Theodore Roosevelt recruited to fill out his Rough Riders Regiment, and of course World War I, World War II, with the world-famous Navajo Code Talkers, through Korea, Vietnam, War on Terror, the Cold War, and what we're doing today to support Ukraine. There are over 2,000 New Mexicans who currently serve in the Navy, and I'm sure many of them are from this area, though I don't know the exact number. You've noted that there are some submarines also named for entities inside the state of New Mexico. Albuquerque has now been decommissioned, but Santa Fe continues to serve, and of course USS New Mexico. You may have seen that we are going to perpetuate the memory of USS Albuquerque with an addition to Tingley Park. And I think this will be very important to remember the crews that made it a superb warship and the pride that the community had in contributing to national security with their ship. And I think the physical presence of that will just make that bond permanent. And we thank you very much for your support for that and more broadly for the Navy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral. Would you mind coming to accept the award and take a photo?
Thank you, Em. Thank you for your service. Go Navy. Thank you. And our last is an acknowledgement. Last but not least, I'd like to ask Bob Cleval to come up to the podium. Hey, Bob. Thank you for coming. It is said that it takes a village to raise a child, and I am sure that Bob can attest that sports and activity and positive use of our kids' minds and bodies, it just makes for a better community. So this acknowledgement is for Bob Cleval, acknowledging that the Bernalillo County Youth Sports Commission was created in 2014 to enhance youth sports programs in Bernalillo County, to engage our community in sporting and promoting youth athletic opportunities, to provide and promote safe and sufficient facilities for all youth sports participants, to improve and provide better safety standards in youth sports, to promote a healthy youth sports environment, to develop public awareness concerning the needs of youth sports programs, and to enhance economic development. So this is acknowledging Bob Cleval, who served as the chairman of Bernalillo County Youth Sports Commission since its inception in 2014 until his retirement from the post. And acknowledging that Bob has gone to great lengths to make children's lives better, and his heart and passion for ensuring they have positive experiences through sports have been his life's mission and will be his legacy. And acknowledging that Bob's long history of youth sports advocacy and his legislative work on behalf of the youth in our community is legendary. Acknowledging that as a volunteer, Bob was a member of many communities and collaborated at the local, state, and national level to promote youth sports. And acknowledging that Bob united sports organization leaders who now continue to work together to accomplish the Youth Sports Commission's goals and collaborate for a betterment of youth sports programs in Bernalillo County. Acknowledging that over the past decade, under his leadership, the Commission has tackled a variety of issues and taken a leadership role in advocating for facility development, including Mesa del Sol Sports Complex, as well as numerous little leagues in Albuquerque. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners acknowledges Bob Cleval for his enthusiastic and generous service to our community and youth sports. Done this 10th day of September 2024 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, presented to Bob on September 10th, 2024. I'd like to give it back. Thank you, Bob. Say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, it's the email that I sent you all that I was going to step aside. And I think I even said in the email, it took a lot of courage for me to hit the send button. I had a tear in my eye when I did that because we started from scratch. And with the help of with you guys, the county manager's office, Kenny Martinez, we put together a solid team. And I think as you pointed out several things with Little Leagues, the Mesa del Sol, some of the things with Safe Sports, things we've done with our coaching and anything to do with safety for our kids and our leagues around the state. Now, obviously, the Mesa del Sol, that $45 million project, we're halfway, and continuing with that endeavor is like the important thing for this commission moving forward. And I told the rest of the guys, I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be around. And when you talk about legislative stuff and capital outlay dollars, we'll work on that together. But then again, I'd like to point out that the other people who are here with me, Jim Tilley, Bill Blair, they've been with me for 12 years. Director Kelly Joe and John Barney for the last 10 years from the beginning. So I appreciate these guys and everything that you commissioners have done for the youth sports. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Bob, I just want to thank you. You were one of the first people I met with our commissions when I was first elected, and the passion you've brought to this endeavor is what we hope for all of our different commissions, and you're a prime example of that. and the importance of sports in kids' lives. That just, with my own anecdotally 4 kids, it's been paramount, and you've been able to spread that. And I don't know how you've done it, but you've spread it throughout the whole county. And thank you so much for your work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Bob. Come on up and get your proclamation, if you would. Come on up, Debbie, Joe, John. Bob's request, you gotta come in for the picture. Here, Bob. Hey, Bob, let me give you that for the picture. All right. It's a team. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. All right, we're counting on you. Thanks so much. Now we move on to public comment and communication. Each person will have 2 minutes, and you will be alerted about your remaining time. When your name is called, please make your way up to the podium if you are speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record, and to maintain order and decorum, and in the spirit of professionalism and respect, we ask that you stick to your 2-minute time frame. Julianne, can you read the names, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 5 signed up this evening, all in person. And we'll start off with Mr. Don Schrader, followed by Anami Das, followed by Dr. Gerardo Cionello.
Don Schrader. Donald Trump was not born a dangerous, lying dictator. His niece, Mary Trump, is a psychologist. Read her book, Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the Most Dangerous Man in the World. 34 copies in our public library. Many Democrat politicians are better than most Republican politicians on rights for black and brown people, women, gays, lesbians, trans persons, and for seeing the human-caused climate crisis is real. Sadly, many Democrat presidents are as war-crazy as Republican presidents. Democrat Truman celebrated the mass murder of kids, moms, dads, when he atom-bombed Hiroshima, Japan. Democrat Johnson mass murdered hundreds of thousands in the Vietnam War. Democrat Carter celebrated having the most heavily weaponed nuclear submarine ever built, named after him. Democrat Biden sends billions of dollars of U.S. weapons to Israel to injure, make homeless, and murder hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. Kamala Harris, as woman of color candidate for U.S. Commander-in-Chief, sadly feels she must prove she can be as war-crazy as any white Republican man in politics.
Thank you, Mr. Schrader.
Anami Das, Dr. Gerardo Cionello, followed by Monique Hardy, followed by Rudolph Serrano.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair and County Commissioners and County Clerk, and thank you for serving. Most of you know I waited 9 years to be a naturalized U.S. citizen legally. Why passionate about fighting for U.S. citizenship? Remember last meeting, I brought my certificate of naturalization. Now, across our great nation, election administrators judges, lawyers, and citizen volunteers are preparing for 2024 election. But radical progressive politicians have been working for years to eliminate laws requiring proof of U.S. citizenship for voter registration in U.S. elections. Without such laws, millions of illegal aliens and non-citizens may be able to vote in November. Every non-citizen who votes cancels the votes of an American citizen. Voting is a precious right of U.S. citizenship defended and preserved by the sacrifice of men and women who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Citizen voting is at the heart of the American Republic, an institution we must preserve at all costs. With a driver's license and social security number, any non-citizen can register to vote in any state unless the state or county takes additional steps to verify U.S. citizenship. All states are required under federal laws to accept and use a federal voter registration form at motor vehicles department and welfare agencies. The form has only a checkbox to answer yes or no to the question under penalty of perjury, and I quote, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" End quote. Registering to vote and voting in federal elections and not by non-citizens are felonies and make non-citizens deportable. Many non-citizens are aware of this. That said, please do the right thing as I did, obeying our U.S. and New Mexico Constitution, and that only citizens vote. Thank you, and may God bless you and USA.
Thank you, Mr. Sinaloa.
Monique Hardy. Rudolph Serrano.
Good evening, Chair Baca and members of this and everybody. Today I'm in a good mood. Mr. Quesada is not here, so we're going to go start with a joke. Comes Representative Javier with his husband and his little kid. He's 7, and they're ready to castrate him, and they take him to Danny Schneider, the alpha gay, so he shows him how he should be gay, and they bring him in, and they're all excited, and but nothing is happening. The old man is a little bit too old, and he can't get it off, and it's like they start panicking. What are we gonna do? And it's like, don't worry. And he opens a little envelope, breaks it apart with his knife, snores it, and it comes up. It says, Representative Javier, is that coca? He says, no, it's caca. Is that coke? No, it's poop. Today's talk is poop. We have a problem with poop in the streets. And when I was in my military service, I was from a Navy family. My brother was a captain, so I have to go in and join. And sadly, I broke my back in boot camp. So when they shipped me to the ship, I couldn't stand up tall. I have to be in the knees and my knees in pain. And the commander says, well, if you cannot stand up, just clean the shitters. And that's my Navy story. I took the bullets, but the bullets from 250 Navy SEALs that are heavy, man. But I cleaned them. And I did my tour, and I'm a veteran for it. And I know how to do it, and I did it for $500 a month. So to pay $600 a month, please don't buy the thing that it is buying. I'm starting to do it for $200. You guys have my number. If somebody calls you, we have a poop here, we have a poop there, call me. I'm a veteran of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes public comment.
Thank you. We move on to item 6A, Behavioral Health Initiative. Dr. Wayne Lindstrom.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. At the behest of Commissioner Quesada, earlier in the summer, he basically challenged us to take a look at what we called at the time mobile sanitation units. We, in turn, went to one of our evaluators that we contract with regards to the Behavioral Health Initiative funds, Apex evaluators, and asked them to do a systematic literature review of what now are termed water sanitation and hygiene units, and WASH is the acronym now for these units. And we asked them to look at the operation of these units, the need to invest in infrastructure to address public health issues that affect many of those in Bernalillo County who are housing insecure. So we have remotely with us Jamie Duval, who has a master's in public health, and she's an evaluator with Apex Education, and she's joining us virtually, I think, from Washington, if I'm correct. Jamie, the floor is yours.
I think your mute is on. We can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you.
Technology's great when it works.
Yes, indeed.
Still no sound.
Try her volume.
My apologies, technical issues were not anticipated.
Yes, we'll see if this will work.
No, there's still no audio.
I can read her lips. She just said, "Oh my God."
Well, she can hear us, so that's a good sign.
Perhaps we need to move on with your presentation, Doctor.
Madam Chair, I would recommend, because this was at the request of Commissioner Quesada, so we could potentially reschedule this for another time when he can be present.
We're fine with that.
Thank you. We apologize. We're going to have to reschedule this presentation. Don't know what the glitch is in our technology, but we will hear you eventually.
very excited.
Eventually.
Our mutual apologies. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lindstrom. Okay, we move on to item 7, appointments to advisory boards and committees. Item A is the Joint Air Quality Control Board appointment, and now we have one vacancy, and we will start with number 1, Commissioner Olivas.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a nomination for Mr. Thomas Dupree.
I will second that. And because there's one vacancy, what we'll do is ask for other nominations before we call a vote, and it'll be a vote by majority, so.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
For the sake of time, I've actually nominated 3 individuals, but I'll officially nominate Mr. Chris Meach.
Chris Meach, okay, number 3, so you're just gonna nominate the one?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And,
Second.
It's been seconded? As we do, we will move in the order that the nominations came in, and we'll start with the first nomination of Dr. Thomas Dupree. All those in favor, say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed,
Aye.
yeah, and that passes 3-1.
Madam
So-
Chair, may I just make a comment?
Yes, please.
And this is just to comment on Mr. Dupree's resume. He has a very impressive resume, so my vote against him isn't necessarily in opposition to him, more so just for the sake of more of a heterogeneity of the commission, which I think is needed, but he does win the vote, and so I expect good things from him.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We move on to 7B. This is the Water Protection Advisory Board appointment. We'll start with Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you. I move to reappoint Jonathan Gonzalez to the Water Protection Advisory Board.
Okay.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded, and that is a reappointment, so that vote can occur with a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
And that passes. And the next is an at-large position, and again, we have one vacancy, and we'll start with Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move to nominate and reappoint Mr. Bart Ferris, who is currently serving for another term on the Water Protection Advisory Board.
And I'll second that.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Benson.
I would also like to nominate Derek Bohannon.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, so we move on to the first nomination, Commissioner Olivas. All those in favor, this is Bart Ferris?
Yes.
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 All those
No.
opposed? No. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Comment?
for the same reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so we have two new, that's taken care of.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Vice Chair Olivas.
Just a quick comment on all of these. I just wanted to say to all of those nominated for both of these boards, had some very impressive resumes and many folks that I think would have served the county very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I
Commissioner
also?
Benson. Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Olivas, and I want to agree. The individuals that I nominated were all very passionate about either air quality or water quality with great, vast experience, and thank you to each of you for putting your hat in the ring. It takes a lot of courage and passion to do so, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Move on to 7C, Behavioral Health Division, Behavioral Health Advisory Board appointments. DCM Wayne Lindstrom to present.
Greetings again, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I committed to you last time to have the remaining 5 members ready for your consideration. I failed you in that regard. I've got 2 for this evening and 2 pending for the next commission meeting, and hopefully I'll have the final third so that we can convene this body and begin doing the business of the Behavioral Health Advisory Board. Tonight, I want to present to you as the Behavioral Health Services Division representative from the state of New Mexico, Annabelle Martinez. She currently is the Deputy Director of Stakeholder and Interagency Collaboration at BHSD. And the second candidate is Terry Schledler, who's a Master's in Public Health, who's the Community Health Worker Representative, and he's currently the Strategic Support Manager with the Office of Community Health at UNMH's Health Sciences Center. So I present those to you this evening for your consideration.
I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions for Dr. Lindstrom?
Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Olivas.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, as I said last time, I think, for just taking this so seriously and moving quickly to appoint some great people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lindstrom. I too want to thank you and congratulate you for the good work.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks again.
Move on to item 8, approval.
vote?
Oh,
Do we
I'm
need to
sorry,
vote?
gosh. Guess I'm
Because
forgetting
Dr. Lindstrom was walking away.
that. Yeah. All those in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That passes. Item 8, approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, can you please provide resolution numbers for item 8A, B, and C?
Yes, ma'am. 8A1 is FR 2024-96. B is AR 2024-97. C1 is FR 2024-98. C2 is FR 2024-99.
Thank you. The consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Therefore, I move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Great, thank you. move on to item 9, adoption of resolutions. Madam Clerk, can you please provide a resolution number for the following items as listed on the agenda?
Yes. A, economic development is AR 2024-100. B is FR 2024-101. C2 is AR 2024-102. C3 is FR 2024-103. D2 is FR 2024-104.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. So we go to the top with 9A, economic development. Manager Carolyn Tobias to present. Thank you, Carolyn.
Good evening, Carolyn Tobias, Economic Development Manager. Madam Chair and members of the Commission, the Economic Development staff request approval for the inducement resolution in connection with a proposed project located within Bernalillo County, New Mexico, to construct, acquire, and install equipment and other personal property for Mesa Film Studios, LLC, in a manner set forth in the project plan. The industrial revenue bonds would provide certain tax exemptions to defray part of the cost of the project over 2 phases, not to exceed $186 million. The project is located on the West Mesa on a property owned by Double Eagle 2 Airport in the city of Albuquerque. And in support of Administrative Resolution 2022-123, with Bernalillo County being named the first film-friendly county in the state, we were outreached to collaborate on this project with the city of Albuquerque, who are providing a $1 million LIDA to the project to be heard at council on the 16th, next week. And the State of New Mexico Economic Development Department providing a $6 million LIDA as a priority industry of the governor's office. I also received some information that I'd like to share from both the Albuquerque Film Office and the State Film Office with regard to this project. There are currently 6 film productions filming in Albuquerque at the moment, and New Mexico has been one of the strongest film economies in the country post-pandemic. During the spring of 2024, there were an average of 12 productions in Albuquerque each month, and we were ranked #1 city to live and work in the U.S. by Movie Maker magazine and #2 in North America. When scouting locations, the film industry looks for incentives, locations, and infrastructure. And as you are all familiar in economic development world, it is the third infrastructure that our state is lacking, and in particular, that includes studio space in this instance. This project is a full-service media production campus for the television and film industry, with facilities that include sound stages, mill space, office and post-production suites, backlot stages, and other auxiliary areas for the facilitation of media production. I have here this evening representatives of the business and also the City of Albuquerque Aviation and Economic Development. I have a whole host of folks to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Carolyn. I do have a few questions, but I just want to, for the sake of the public and for everyone to understand, this is an introduction. We're not voting for approval of this yet, and that will be forthcoming. And so I will move approval of the inducement resolution.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Thank you. And my questions, and we have received some comment from the community. I know that the Double Eagle 2 master plan has most recently gone through the Environmental Planning Commission, and this is in my district. I visited the site a few weeks ago on the other side of the volcanoes, on the other side of Atrisco Vista. So a lot of folks in Albuquerque proper probably don't understand the distance. However, it is on city property, that's correct, and it has to go through this process. My understanding is that there is a concern from NAVA, the Native American Voters Alliance, that they, and you've reached out to them. So I'm glad about that they felt that they weren't included in the conversation, and now you are including him in that conversation. I think the neighborhood as well, the biggest issue is the height requirements as well as the notification. So I wanted to tell the other commissioners that we will not be voting on approval of these IRBs until those kinds of details with that site plan and the appeal for that site plan as part of the master plan goes through the Environmental Planning Commission and City Council. So that's very important to know. We can work out some of those details. So I'm really glad to hear that. But my question is, this is a 30-year exemption that's being proposed exemption to our taxes, and that is a really long time, a lifetime for some of our folks. And my question is why 30 years? Is that essential? Could it be a 20-year term? And what would that do to your project and your thinking?
Madam Chair and members of the commission, I'm going to defer this question to Harry, who's representing the business. And then also, if with your permission, I would like you to hear from Galen, who's representing the development and Mesa Film Studios, because I do think that his story is an impactful one and one that's significant to this project. But I'll let Harry answer your question first.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Harry Relkin, born in Albuquerque, practiced out in Albuquerque for this November 50 years. So hope to get it right one day. Anyway, live in Commissioner Olivas district. What the question is on the 30 versus, say, a 20-year. When we were going through our process and looking at financing and equity contributions, we were looking at where could we go for an IRB. And there were three reasons that we thought that we really wanted to go through the county. One was that we're hoping with this project and all the jobs and economic development that it can bring, that this is a state, which they're participating on LEDA, city on LEDA. City gave us the lease of the land, and then the role for the county seemed natural for an IRB. So we're looking at a collaborative, all three governmental entities as well as us, the private sector. The other reason, this is Harry speaking and no slam against the city, but in my years of practice working on things such as the Mesa del Sol recreational project at its very inception when I was at the state land office and I was the point person on that, to many other things, I've really enjoyed working with the county and feel that the county is very proactive and very good to work with. So those are two, if you will, a little bit soft reasons, but the third reason is money. And that is, in order to get financing and in order to get the equity investment, from what I understand from Mark Kinderchuk, and he could speak more directly on this, he's joining us, I think, via Zoom, handles our finance, that's a $6 million hit to reduce from 30 to 20. And that $6 million is very important to make a project like this where we're putting over $70 million in the ground and taking significant, like all developers, significant risk. That's $6 million and the additional abatement is key to the project's success. And so when you look at the but-for test, but for the 30 years, we've got a much bigger challenge than otherwise we would. I hope that answers your question, Madam Chair.
I think so. Did you want to bring, were there any specific questions or Carolyn has?
Madam Chair, with the Commission's permission, if Galen, who can speak for Mesa Film Studios, can speak to the concerns or the questions that came forth earlier regarding like the need for this facility and why here and why in Bernalillo County.
Great, come on up, but also Commissioner Barboa had a question first, so.
Madam Chair?
Okay, she'd like to go after. Commissioner Benson?
Yeah, I do have a question. For clarity, this project is in Bernalillo County or Albuquerque?
This is in, well, it's in the city of Albuquerque in the sense that that little finger that comes down on the West Mesa, it's city of Albuquerque land.
Okay, thank you. So, in terms of the IRB, if this doesn't happen, what role will Bernalillo County have in this project if we don't do the IRB, if it's on city land?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Benson, we will be cheerleaders as a film-friendly county, but we will, this is the role that we've been offered, is to do the IRB, and without that, the business will have then the consideration or the option to take the IRB to the city or elsewhere.
Okay, and if they go to the city, will we get direct property taxes, or will there be any participation on the county's aspect financially?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, we currently do not get any property taxes because it is city land. And so we would not get any benefit moving forward if we don't participate in this way.
Okay. I have a few more questions, but let me sit on them, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please.
Sure.
Brief.
Madam Chair and members of this council, it's nice to see all of you. It's a very amazing moment to be standing here because I'm New Mexican. I grew up here. I went to Manzano High School, and I left here because I needed to do something that I couldn't do here, and that was have a career making films. And I went to Los Angeles, and that's where I have been for 40 years. And a friend of mine and a colleague told me he was building a studio here. I couldn't believe it. I said, in Albuquerque? He said, yeah, up on this place called Mesa del Sol, we're going to build a studio. I flew home to see my mom at Christmas, and after a bowl of pozole and had to get outside for a while, I drove up there, and there was nothing there but a cable on the ground and a bunch of guys in tractors, and they said, we're going to build a studio here. I couldn't believe it, but after they built it and I saw what it was, and that man was Nick Smergan and Bill Richardson, I said, wow, I might be able to do this here and not live in California. But what really occurred to me was that there's opportunities for people here to have a business and have a future and have aspirations where they don't have to leave, where they can do it right here. And I don't want to cast any dispersions, but I'm New Mexican, and I want to build a company that hires New Mexicans. I don't want people to come here, consume what we have, and then take it all. I want to build it here. And that was our big, big quest to get this studio off the ground. Now, you should all know that this is the 4th location that we finally was able to secure. And thank you for the aviation people and everybody in Albuquerque. It's been an amazing team, these people you see on these screens. But we have invested an amazing amount of money, and we are looking to build jobs. And that is our primary focus, is to build opportunity here. As you know, there are no publicly offered studios here that are purpose-built. And I want to make sure we all understand what that means. A purpose-built studio is for larger facilities, larger productions. You need space, you need things that are catered for these productions, and that is what we're building. It's not a warehouse that we've converted or a parking lot. It's very important that when these professionals come to work here and what they need, which is sometimes pretty crazy. I mean, we build jungles, and inside we build spaceships. But New Mexico has an opportunity to have that here, and we're looking to build it. So I can promise you, as a kid, I went out to Laguna Pueblo every Saturday morning because my grandmother's sister was married to a Laguna Pueblo guy. And we'd walk the field. I can promise you our heights will not obstruct any views. We will be away from everything else that's no further away than an airport. And I think we will bring some amazing opportunities for Albuquerque and everybody who lives here. So being said that and being heard, I'm glad I'd have a chance to get in front of you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Barboa has questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for that. I think those are, for me, I haven't, reading this, seeing who doesn't love film industry in New Mexico, and I love every time I'm watching a movie and I'm like, that's New Mexico, and we have to look it up and make sure I'm right, but I'm always right, and there's so many films being filmed here. So I think it's great. I am worried about the complaints for, just for, we value our air, land, water, and sacred sites so much here. If you're a boomerang, right? And so we have to make sure that we're doing right by our neighbors. We are in Indigenous land. So that part is important to me. Otherwise, I think this is a great piece. I don't know if in between now this 30-day period, if there's folks that we could talk to, or just to make the folks who complained about the sacred sites and otherwise, I'd love that during this 30-day period.
And Madam Chair, Commissioner Barboa, I do have Lisa here from City of Albuquerque Aviation that can speak to the zoning questions that you have.
Please.
Hello, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate the time. I just want to say, as a mom of a son who went through the CNM film program and worked on Breaking Bad and worked on Better Call Saul, this is so exciting to think that my son may stay here. So I have a personal vested interest, but as the Associate Deputy Director of Innovation and Development at the Sunport, I also have a professional investment. And I do want you to know that while we followed the requirements for notification the first time around, we are keenly and sensitively aware that we need to do more. And we've already started on that. We have already hired a Native American PR agency, April Hale, who will not only guide us in this journey so that it is respectful and appropriate, but will also help us organize the convenings that we need to. And we do expect that we will be traveling to their locations. We don't expect them to come to us, so that we can have those very important conversations. The other thing that we did immediately following the EPC hearing and understanding the concerns that were raised, that we needed to have a little bit of visual understanding of those view sheds. And so we commissioned one of our contractors to go out and take a multitude of photos from about 3 different vantage points in the petroglyphs, because we wanted to ensure that anything that we have coming through in our changes that we're doing to the master plan, or to, as we consider this particular project, that they would be within the limits that would protect the sunrise all the way to the sunset, to have that view shed, because we do understand that there are multiple of our neighbors that still use that area for worship, and it's sacred. And we want to be very respectful of that. I did print out copies of the photos that we took that show where the studio will be, shows where the airport is, and you can see the actual control tower, which is 110 feet, which is significantly higher than any other building that even the PRC approval would have given us, and is much higher than what Mesa Studios is asking for. So with your permission, I would like to hand those to you, or I don't know what that process is. I want to follow appropriate protocol, hand them to you.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Okay, any further questions from?
Thank you very much for that information. I'll look at it. And thank you so much for bringing this opportunity. I'm glad you're back.
Mr. Olivas, and then Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I don't know your last name, but Mr. Galen, really appreciate your story and, sharing your vision and your passion for why you want to bring this project here. And I think that's an exciting thing and something that we ought to help nurture and grow. with that being said, I do have some concerns with some of the public comment that we received. I do think it's something that I get the impression from all of you that you're committed to working through in a real way. And I, again, as Madam Chair said from the start here, this is an introduction of the IRB. So, I would say that from my perspective, I want to see where this shakes out, how those discussions go. And if there is a real dialogue and a real attempt to make sure that you're doing everything you can to reach out to our Indigenous communities and our partners that we do live on their land. So that being said, the one question, I'm not sure if we have the right city people here, but hopefully we do. I know that the city council recently amended the IDO I think they amended it to require consultation with Native American communities in this specific area, I think. Am I on, it sounds like I'm on the right track. Okay, citywide. Did that predate sort of when this application was started?
The application came first.
Okay.
It was already submitted before those changes were made, but that doesn't mean we're not moving forward with what the new expectations will be.
Okay, no, I think that really helps a lot to know.
And Mesa Studios application may be different.
Madam Chair, I might be allowed, in addition to what the city is doing, which, just like Lisa has explained, they're going above and beyond what's required under the IDO. And they're in that process. But additionally, we're submitting the specific site plan, not for the 4,200 acres, but for the discrete 60 acres of our, that will be submitted to the EPC for process in October, hopefully first or second week of October. In that regard, we have already, Mesa Film Studios has already sent out meeting requests with all of the Pueblos, the Navajo Nation, and the two neighborhood associations, although under the IDO, they're not strictly even entitled to notice because they're too far away from the project. But nonetheless, we understand they have concerns. So we have sent them invites. They're responding saying that they do want to meet. And so we're going to do that. And in addition to what the city's doing, not in conflict with what the city's, but actually additional. So you've got the city working on the 4,200 acres, and you've got us. And then under the ID, to your point about the master plan, Commissioner, the city also has already passed an amendment to the Double Eagle 2 master plan, which specifically allows studios. That's gone through the process, passed the appeal process. So that is an allowed use. It's also an allowed use under the IDO zone for airport overlay districts. So we're in compliance with the IDO, we're in compliance with the master plan, and we're going through the process above and beyond. And as far as the height, we're already under what the city has requested and approved by EPC, but we're more than willing, and these photographs I think will show you, there's no impediment of the view to Mount Taylor, which is extremely important. My feeling about the petroglyphs goes all the way back to its creation. I was at the state land office, and we had state trust land inside where they desired to create the monument. I was part of the team, not by myself, but part of the team did land exchange so the monument could become, well, so it could become a monument, national monument. And so I think we have on our team from people in New Mexico who I think appreciate the importance of the religious and recreational and just historic nature of the national monument as well as the surrounding open space. That's one of the reasons our setback, you'll see, from Atrisco Vista Boulevard is three-quarters of a mile setback. So, I mean, the impediment to any viewscapes is certainly minimized. Not saying there's nothing, because anytime you do something, there's something, right? But I think you'll see through the photographs and through our work with those associations and with the tribal entities, hopefully we'll be able to show that we're not bad neighbors.
I really appreciate that, and I really do have a good sense of confidence that you all will work as partners with our Native American neighbors and, find a way to work through this. The last thing I want to say is more of an internal matter with regards to the pilot fee. I'm sure you all are well aware of the challenges with Atrisco Vista Boulevard in that area and even, moving north of that area to connect to Paseo del Norte and as you build this large facility and we're projecting, hopefully a robust usage of it and lots of people traveling out there, I think maybe we need to have some conversations with the Economic Development Department and our Public Works team about that pilot fee and perhaps thinking about how that should be used to make sure that we support this area and then support the needs of those surrounding communities. So I just think that's something that we don't have to decide that now. I don't think that really necessarily needs to be part of this specific decision, but that road needs some help, and I know that Madam Chair is very aware of that and invested in that. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment. I'm excited about this, and I think there's a lot of opportunities here. And Galen, I just want to thank you for jumping in the ring and trying to get this done, coming back to Albuquerque, creating jobs, creating economic opportunities. I love it. I love it. And I want more New Mexicans coming back. I remember signing the resolution where Bernalillo County became, I believe, the first film-friendly county in New Mexico. And this is another opportunity. And the other exciting thing is that this gives us a seat at the table. If we don't do this, we don't even have a seat at the table. So if we're trying to, make sure this is done right, this is how we can do it. If we don't do this IRB, then we won't be able to have any say in it. So I'm excited, and I look forward to hearing the solutions that you provide for our constituents, our residents, and our regional community members as well. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think those are all my questions, so I guess I will call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
So we will continue to work with you, and thank you for your good work and your commitment to the community.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commission. Appreciate it.
Here for any questions you have and anything we can do, we're going to go out of our way to get it done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Move on to 9B, Metropolitan Detention Center Correction Detention Recruitment Fund. Warden Smith to present. Welcome, Warden.
Good evening. Thank you for seeing me, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. During the early legislative session this year, Governor Lujan Grissom signed into legislation to provide $25 million to corrections for probation, parole, and detention facilities. As part of that, the State of New Mexico Department of Finance Administration awarded to Bernalillo County Metropolitan Detention Center $3,018,750 for hiring of corrections officers. The grant will provide funding for 3 years. The first year is a $1,725,000 allocation. The second year is $862,500, and the third and final year is $431,250. That'll cover 21 CO salaries. So in saying that, I'm asking for your approval regarding the motions to accept the award for the Corrections Detention Recruitment Fund from the State of New Mexico in the amount of $3,018,750 for hiring of corrections officers. In addition, the approval of the financial resolution budgeting the grant in the amount of $1,725,000. And finally, authorizing the county manager to execute the grant agreement and any subsequent agreements or amendments to the award associated with this grant. And I'll stand by if you have any questions.
Thank you, Warden. And I would like to also say kudos to our legislature, to our governor, for seeing the great need and in recruiting and hiring additional COs at our jail. So thank you for that. And I move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded by everybody. Anybody have any other questions for the warden? Vice Chair Olivas, and then Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Warden. Question about this is basically, are these intended to fund new positions over and above what was already in our budget?
The funding from what has been provided us is just going to offset the cost of the 21. It's not for us to add any FTEs. It's to offset what we already have allocated.
Okay, so these are not new positions. These
No.
are basically shifting the cost, and so sort of the follow-up question that I had was, since this is a laddered grant, right? It's full cost, and then it goes down over 2 more years. Obviously, that really doesn't affect us because they were already in our budget. Those positions were, so the funding is already there for those latter years.
Yes, it is, but we have some current positions that are frozen. This is going to help us offset some of those so that we can get those positions back online. And with some of the hiring and initiatives that we're trying within the division to improve our staffing levels, this will help offset some of that cost.
Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yeah, I had similar question, just I'm not quite, so this will, yeah, if this is not gonna be new positions, a couple of things I've heard is that it's been hard to recruit and fill the vacant positions we've had. And so if this is not, how is this help? I just want to say first, I seconded it or would have moved to approve because I'm glad that the state is finally, or I guess I shouldn't say finally, I'm glad that the state is stepping in and adding additional funds for a much needed. We provide care, services to the entire state, but also we're the largest, all those things. But I guess I want to know how we're using it, knowing that we've had vacant positions and how that fills that, and if our budget's already there, then.
Well, currently the budget is not covering the 411 positions. We do have some frozen positions, and as our staffing numbers comes up, this will reallocate the funds for 21 of the positions so that we don't have to come back and seek those funding resources that allow us to use those fundings.
Okay, so it's not a wash. I guess I just don't, yeah. Man, I don't know how then, where does the money, you're saying these are all frozen positions, but we haven't filled all our vacant positions yet?
No, we took advantage of the program for the state, and we applied for it, and we got the positions. And our goal is to increase the staffing levels even past to what our current funding is for. And this will allow us to reach further without having to come before the commission to unfreeze positions, go for funding then. So I see this as a positive way for us to set the next limits for what we want in our hiring goals and take into consideration the funding and add the 21 with some of the proactive plans that we are trying to do. So we're hoping to get a large surge in, and currently we have seen the numbers going up in our recruiting. We currently have 55 cadets between on the floor in their last on-the-job training, plus what's going through the current cadet class. So as that number rises, we are going to meet the threshold of what we are currently funded for, and then those frozen positions. This allows us not to have to come in front of you as fast as I hope we have to come in front of you to fill those positions, because as we fill them, obviously, there will be a positive benefit to the reduction of our overtime cost. So it is a proactive thing the state did, looking at the broadness of the entire state. Their circumstance of their funding was probably not necessarily geared towards specifically us. It was to provide it for all. We just took advantage to try and get a hold of some of them funds, that if we do reach our recruiting goals and exceed them, that we have the funding so that we can already have it allocated and not have to come before the commission to seek more funding.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one last comment. Thank you so much. I don't mean to make it hard to accept money. I just, and I'm again so thankful that you're taking the initiative to ask the state and that the state's showing up. I just want to make sure we're able to fill those or some of the things that we might need to get the McClendon case done, meet those needs. I'm just trying to think of the big picture, but definitely are increasing. And it took a lot for those recruitment efforts. So good to hear that there is still plans for robust recruitment efforts. And yeah, thank you. Definitely support this. Just want to make sure it's we're filling all the need and don't have to give any money back.
Great, thank you. Any, Vice Chair Olivas?
I'm sorry, the conversation just, I had one more question. So, from a budget perspective, I hope you're right, that our recruitment goes gangbusters and we need this money in order to unfreeze. But if it doesn't, and we end up just using this money to cover positions that are essentially already funded, what happens to the county funding that was attached to those positions that's now being swapped for state funding? Obviously that, because it's a laddered grant and it's not permanent, it strikes me that that would then become one-time dollars, if you will.
To looking at the bigger picture of that with the amount of overtime, so right now, those positions that it would be covering are being covered by overtime funds. So what it will allow us to do is take away from that $3 million overtime and then be able to redistribute to other departments possibly in the county if we are able to save that on our side. Where currently we're having to seek other funding to offset our overtime. We have a significant overtime, and that's why we're so aggressive on the recruiting, is so that we know that if we can get the recruiting levels up, that the overtime will come down. And that funding that you're talking about, yeah, it's a wash on paper for the MDC, but the money that it's saved in the $3 million will get reallocated to other divisions that could use that have made sacrifices to ensure that the MDC is funded.
Warden, Shirley has our county manager has a comment. Thank you.
No problem. Madam Chair, Commissioner Barboa, Commissioner Olivas, to elaborate on what he's saying, this is new money for new positions. Those frozen positions really aren't anything because they're unfunded. So instead of creating a new FTE, we're going to use the frozen positions, post those, fill them using the money that we're getting from this grant. So it's like a safer grant for fire. They give us that money and they fund a certain percentage each year. So what we do as a part of the budget process is we work it into our recurring budget. So we know how much they're funding, and we work that into our recurring budget. So by the time that the funding goes out in 2027, those positions will be fully funded in the recurring budget. And like he said, by filling those positions, we should start to reduce overtime, which will free up dollars as well. So we manage and work with this, so it happens on both sides.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, one last thing,
Sure.
really just to close the loop, is, so I think the answer is basically, short answer is yes. And to Commissioner Barboa's point, then some of those funds, if your efforts are wildly successful, can be used to address the McClendon lawsuit or, capital needs at the jail or needs in other departments. So it's a good thing. So thank you.
Net gain. Okay, I want to call the vote. I think we have our questions answered. All those in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Warden. Item 9C, Operations and Maintenance Solid Waste Residential User Fees. Director Antonio Jaramillo.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and County Manager. My name is Antonio Jaramillo, and I am the Director of Operations and Maintenance. The agenda item before you today is to propose a 6.5% increase to the solid waste residential user fees. The increase is based on a CPI or Consumer Price Index increase that was proposed by our vendor, Waste Management. Per their contract, they are allowed to increase the cost of services on an annual basis due to increases in fuel, administrative, and operational costs. The proposed increase would equate to approximately $1.22 per month increase to an average one trash cart and one recycle cart. We also have adjusted the low income and very low income costs at a lower rate at 3.5%, which equates to about 35 cents and 18 cents respectively. The other agenda item is to increase our budget by $420,000 to cover the cost associated with the services that our solid waste vendor provides. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Director Jaramillo? Vice Chair Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director, do you know when the last time this contract went to bid was?
I believe it was 2 years ago, and currently I believe it's an 8-year contract. Yes, 8-year contract.
So it's an 8-year contract, and they are guaranteed an increase if there's an increase in the CPI?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, it's an annual increase, and they can choose to associate as a CPI increase annually. We've seen some years where they don't give us an increase. However, this year and the past year we have seen an increase. Typically, we like to do it every other year. We absorb that cost. However, we're at the point where it's necessary for us to impose a 6.5 increase so that we can sustain.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you.
And that passes 3-1. Thank you. Item 9D, Youth Services Center, Corrections Detention Recruitment Fund Grant.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening. It is my honor to introduce our new director for the Youth Detention Center, who is going to actually present on this item as her first time up before you, but it's Tamara Mercantile.
Welcome, Director.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm so honored to be before you in service to the county and also to service to the Youth Services Center. I think we can all agree that the greatest asset that we have in the work that we do is our human capital. And I'm so thankful to our legislator and our governor for allocating these funds to support the recruitment of staff to work in our correctional and detention agencies statewide. The Youth Services Center was fortunate enough to be awarded $2,625,000 from this grant. As discussed previously, it's distributed over 3 years. The first allocation would be $1.5 million. The second year, $750,000, and then $375,000 the third year. This will allow us to hire over 10 positions, and there's been so much progress that the chief and the team at the Youth Services Center has made in trying to fill those vacant positions that we've had. We know that that's critical to maintaining our required staffing ratios. It also helps us facilitate and support programming for the kids that are in our custody and care. And it also creates overall safer environment to operate in. Therefore, we're asking you to accept the motions that are before you, with the exception that on number 2, instead of $2,625,000, that should actually be $1.5 million for the first year. So my apologies on that. And we stand for any questions.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? So it's 1.5 million?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair.
Any
on number
questions?
2.
Yeah. Any questions for the director?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. And I again would like to make a statement that, welcome Director Mercantile? Yes.
Marcantel, but everyone
Marcantel.
turns us into a dry goods store. So.
I know, so sorry, Marcantel, now I'll remember. And welcome, and thank you very much for serving. This has been a big issue that I've been working with, a lot of us have been working with the chief on, and it is so important, as we know, to have, as you say, the staffing and the personnel to accomplish the goal that we are tasked with here with the Youth Services Center, and creating a safe environment, creating an environment that these kids can get out of the trouble that they find themselves in as well. So thank you for this, and I'm in support of it. Commissioner Barboa.
Thanks. Of course, I'm in support of getting more funding for the state also stepping in for this very important need. I just don't know, do you have plans so far for the, thank you, Chief Pettis, for the recent boost in our recruitment efforts. Do you have plans that you want to now in this new position?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm still fairly new, but we have been having some really robust discussions to discuss what sort of our organizational structure should look like to best support really consistent programming and efforts with the youth. You know, it's hard to operate in crisis, and when you've had significant staffing shortages, it can create a little bit of chaos. And they've done so much work to restabilize the facility and be able to move forward. And so we're working really hard on what that'll look like. I hope that we'll probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks that we would have that sort of finalized so that we can move forward quickly and efficiently.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair and Commissioner Barboa, I will add, since I have been intimately involved in it, we really are looking a lot towards, as Tamara has mentioned, the structure of the youth detention center. So we're seeing our population hover right about 47. It's been sitting around 47 for the last 2 weeks. So we're thinking that that may kind of be our new norm, up from about 32 was what we had seen as our historical high. So we know that we're going to need some additional boots on the ground. So some of this funding will definitely go into that, but we also need some supports around those boots on the ground, and more importantly, around the youth. So we could see some of this funding also going towards enhanced case management, potential for behavioral health type resources and other things. So we really need to explore. We applied for this grant in a rush, knowing that we needed it. So in full transparency, we're not exactly sure where we'll spend it, but we will have that for you in the next 3 to 4 weeks of exactly where those monies will go, or where we offset current expenses with our YPOs to allow those funds to be transferred over to things that maybe this grant can't cover. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're grateful again to the governor and all for allowing us that opportunity. It's a great place to be in, a great position for us to be in, considering where we were 6 months ago.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Director Marcantil. Did I get that right? Marcantil. All right. Welcome. So glad to have you on the team and excited to work with you. We know that this facility's had its challenges, but really want to thank the team for, I think, doing a lot to try to stabilize that. The recruiting efforts have seemingly really paid off in a big way, and I'm looking forward to seeing that continue. You know, unfortunately, it just seems like this is a growing segment of our criminal justice involved population. I mean, just the other night in my neighborhood, down the street from my neighborhood, we had a homeowner murdered in his driveway by a youth, and probably a car full of youths. And so, you know, this is something that is really afflicting our community more and more. We hear the district attorney, the sheriff talk about this. So I just say this as kind of a cautionary, you know, I think that there's more to come here, unfortunately, and I think it really speaks to the need to invest in our youth. This is part of that, right? Making sure that we have those facilities there to try to rehabilitate and rejuvenate when people are involved in these really heinous, serious situations. So thank you both, and welcome to the team, and thank you for really punching above your weight here with this, because compared to the MDC grant, it's a much smaller facility, but much needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. And welcome. Item 10, approvals, Finance, American Rescue Plan Act. Denise Benavides.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Denise Benavides. I'm the Principal Financial Analyst for the Finance Division. So you have several motions in front of you. If you recall, at the October 24th, 2023 administrative meeting, the commission had requested that we look at the feasibility of the City of Albuquerque pallet houses. We have completed that analysis and submitted it to the ARPA core team. Based on their recommendation, they are recommending that this project be funded with an alternative funding. So the motion before you is to redistribute that $600,000 in ARPA funding for an existing ARPA project. As you well know, our deadline for obligation is coming up on December 31st of 2024. So we would like to use this money for an existing project. The next motion is to approve Amendment 5 for the MOU between the Bernalillo County and the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority This is going to provide an additional $577,938.61 in ARPA funding, which will increase the total ARPA subaward amount to $63,867,597.61. At the April 23rd, 2024 meeting, the commission had requested that the county manager do a feasibility for this funding for either the New Mexico Veterans Integration Center or a water utility authority project. Since the New Mexico Veterans Integration Center was funded with alternative funding, we collaborated with our technical services department and with the Water Utility Authority to identify a project that could use this additional funding. I have with me David Laughlin from the Water Utility Authority if you have any questions regarding why we selected the project. The project will be the Carnwell Sewer Collection System Project. And the final last motion authorizes the county manager to execute any subsequent agreements, amendments with the Water Utility Authority for the additional funding identified in Amendment 5. As you know, we have several subrecipient agreements. Each project has its own subrecipient agreement. So if this is approved, we will go back and amend the subrecipient agreement for Carnwell to identify this additional funding. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, Denise? Vice Chair Olivas and then Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Laughlin, for being here as well. So we've got three motions here. The third one, I definitely understand that one. The first motion, I guess 1 and 2, the question is, are we shifting the funding from the transitional housing project to the Carnwell project, or are we shifting the funding that was tentatively allocated to the VIC and or water utility to this specific project?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, what we are doing is we're talking about two separate pots of money. So additionally, we had identified $600,000 for the pallet houses. And in addition, there was some money that was left in contingency, which was about $577, which was identified either for the VIC or the Water Utility Authority. So we're talking about two separate. So we're not really shifting the 600. We're just asking that we redistribute it because right now it's kind of tied up in the pallet houses. And unless you allow us to do feasibility on another project, we won't be able to move that funding into another project that we're hoping we can identify. I know we have talked with the Water Utility Authority. We have 9 projects with them. There's several other projects where they could use the funding. That's an option. Or if there's another existing ARPA project that has a shortfall, we could use that funding for. The 577 was additionally identified at the time that the New Mexico VIC came aboard. And at that time, that was supposed to be, I believe, for phase 2. And because obviously phase 2 was a lot bigger than 577, it was funded with alternative funding, freeing up this money. And I believe that it was the will of the commission for us to look at those two. And since the VIC was already funded, we took a look and collaborated with the Water Utility Authority to identify the Carnwell project for that funding. So we're kind of talking about two different funding pots.
I really appreciate that explanation. That makes it way more clear what we're doing here. And so then the last thing is just on that first motion with regards to the transitional housing project. I think that's a really important project. It's something I really support. I think that we've got to find ways to get more housing for folks in need that need that kind of temporary transitional space. And I think that, you know, as I've seen this project evolve and mature, you know, this is a fairly cost-effective way to get, you know, a door that locks and a roof over people's heads. So I'm really supportive of that. And my one concern here is that you said utilize an alternative funding source, but you didn't say what the funding source is. So I'm a little concerned. Are we kind of cutting the branch off here without really knowing where we're going next?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, what we have discovered is that we had additionally, well, not discovered, based on, you know, my boss, the interim county manager, she had identified $200,000 that we had set aside in general fund to offset. I believe the award was for $800,000. And so what we're suggesting is not to not do the project. We're just suggesting that we do not do the project with ARPA funding and to use that. Another option, which I believe that she has mentioned, is the other $600,000 would come from the general fund. So we would still fulfill the project, but we just would take the ARPA piece out of that.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I'm just going to sit back and listen to the rest of the commission, if the will of the commission on that one, and see where folks fall.
I have a follow-up. For the first motion, the project has not yet been selected for that $600,000, and you will be coming back to us with what that project is, and most likely it will be with the Water Utility Authority. That's what you're saying?
Madam Chair, that is correct. That is one of the areas that we can look at. There is, I believe, another ARPA project. I believe it's an internal project that we can look at for feasibility to see if that's something, regardless of what project is decided, if it is the will of the commission for us to look at another Water Utility Authority project or the other internal project within the county, we would take a look at that and still bring that forward for your final approval.
Did you have a question, Commissioner?
That was my question.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? So is it the will of the commission then to vote on all three of those? That's how it's listed now. Do we have any problems with voting on all three of those together as one motion? Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Laughlin, for coming and the good work you do with the Water Authority. Item 11, announcement of the next commission meeting will be Tuesday, September 24th. The administrative meeting at 5 p.m. here in these chambers. And with no further ado, we are adjourned.